So here's the deal. I do a lot of traveling. However, I'm also an idiot and I forgot to bring a controller. However, I have this, a Makey. It's a device that turns basically anything that conducts electricity into an input device, a keyboard, mouse, or D-pad. On top of that, it just so happens that the game I want to play is Forza Horizon 5. Xbox have just partnered with Krispy Kreme of all companies, and there are Xbox and Forza Horizon themed donuts. So, you know, why don't we just use those as a controller? But before that, I want to show you just how simple it is to use this. So let's move to the setup and you'll see how quick and easy this is to set up. Any device you plug a Makey into will more or less see it as a keyboard and mouse. And all you have to do to get an input is to connect the earth with, you know, any of these contacts. And as you can see, it lights up. So what if I don't know, had a plain piece of paper and wanted to make my own button? Well, all you'd have to do is, you know, draw yourself a button. It's nice and round. Well, that's not actually round, that's more square, but we'll pretend that's not the case. So you draw yourself this button right here, and then you use one of the included alligator clips, and you clip one end on the pencil, and then the other end on the click. And then you touch the earth, and when I touch this pencil, just like magic, it lights up. So it works with anything that conducts even the slightest amount of electricity. So why don't we try a donut? So if we take this piece of paper and put one of our Forza donuts on here, we can do that to it. And now, when we touch earth, nothing happens. But when we touch the donut, it lights up. Isn't that magical? So let's set up a whole controller. We need accelerate, brake, left, right. So let's do that on the whole table. So we've just quadrupled up our inputs, which means we have a W, an A, an S, and a D, except it's WSAD because it is. So with this camera here, you can now see the screen, which means if I do this, we start accelerating in the game. If I do this, we start steering. And this is ridiculous, is all I'm saying. That's right, we are playing Forza Horizon 5 with donuts. It's worth explaining that I'm still using a grounding device. It's just an anti-static wristband that I instead have tied to my ankle, which means that I can go hands-free and I can just go wild. You know what, while we're getting to where we're going, let's talk about how this is all working. Because it's not running off an Xbox or anything fancy like a gaming PC. This is running in a glorified browser using Xbox Cloud Play. If you have Game Pass Ultimate, that means that you can use this technology right now to play Xbox games on basically any device with an internet connection. It's genuinely crazy just how good this looks. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. I also use Stadia, and actually, visually, I prefer Stadia. It supports up to 4K, and I actually quite like the Stadia controllers. I have 2 of them because Google have been chucking them into basically any purchase of anything in the last couple of years. But it's a controller I quite like, and the fact that it connects directly over Wi-Fi means that it cuts out as much latency as possible. What's cool is if you go to Krispy Kreme and buy 12 donuts, not only can you potentially get these fancy ones, but you get a guaranteed 1 month of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to try for free. And on top of that, you're entered in to potentially win an Xbox Series S. That's right, if you just enjoy some donuts, you might get a free Xbox out of it. Now, this is in no way sponsored. However, that's pretty neat if you ask me. All right, let's hop into this race. I'll be honest, this Bugatti isn't great to drive, even with regular controls. Frankly, the car is just too fast for its own good. However, that's only made worse when you're driving with a donut. And I don't mean the one in the driver's seat. Also, I must confess that the icing on these donuts clearly wasn't designed for this because it's melting. Right now, as I use the donuts, I can feel them melting on my fingers as this happens. However, despite all of that, it's still a surprisingly solid drive. So there's that aspect to it. I mean, yes, I am missing practically every checkpoint I try to go through. But you know what? The racing games are about making your own choices. The best road is the road we made along the way. Ah! Sorry, I had to get the feelings out. I couldn't throw the controller at a wall. So I guess I ate the donut.